Hey there, my friend. Today we are going to be talking about social emotional development of toddlers. Understanding the stages of social emotional development can help us make a little bit more sense of some of those crazy behaviors that we see from toddlers. So let's get to it. Okay, so there are several different social emotional stages that toddlers are going through that I want to go over a little bit today. Some of them you're kind of familiar with, I'm sure, because you've seen the behaviors that are associated with them. But again, I really feel it's important for us as parents to have a good understanding of what's driving those behaviors, kind of the why behind what we see, because I think it can really help us to change maybe some of our approaches to those behaviors and sometimes take them a little bit less personally than we often do. So the first stage I want to talk about is egocentrism. Egocentrism is often referred to as the mind stage. There's an old t-shirt out there somewhere that says the toddler's credo is what's yours is mine, what's mine is mine, what theirs is mine. That's really that demonstration of that egocentric thinking that we see from toddlers. When they go over and take toys out of other children's hands, they're not thinking about the pain or the frustration that they might be causing to the other child. They're not intentionally being mean. They're just only seeing their perspective. I see something that I want and I'm going to go take it. So understanding that this is not them being selfish or mean or rude, it has to do with the development of their brain and what's going on there. They've not yet developed the ability to understand other people's perspectives. So you know how I love me some good brain science nuggets. So one thing that's going on developmentally from a brain standpoint is that they're learning and going through a stage called tertiary circular reactions. In other words, they're learning about trial and error at this stage. So this trial and error thinking stage that they're going through means that they're going to continue to do things over and over and over. They're looking for the exceptions to the rule. So just something to note from a brain development standpoint as you're going through this social emotional stages with your toddler. And because of this trial and error thinking that they're going through, this is why it's really critical for us to be consistent as parents in our responses to some of those more challenging behaviors. When we lack consistency in our responses, it makes it harder for our toddlers to figure out what the rules regarding this particular behavior are. So for example, if your child is hitting you in the face while you're holding them, I usually suggest to parents, make a sad face, put your toddler down, and walk away for a couple of minutes so that they make the association that when I hit, they immediately put me down and walk away. I lose contact. If we do that sometimes, but not all the time, then they're still going to try to figure out that loop of what happens with this particular behavior. Sometimes my mom puts me down and walks away. Sometimes my mom just talks to me about it, but continues to hang on to me and carry me around the house. It doesn't help them to finish that loop to understand that every single time I do A, I'm always going to get B. Consistency is really hard. I get it. But it's really, really important for our toddlers if we want to help them finish those loops and figure out what the responses to those different behaviors are going to be. Consistency is the key. Okay, so let's talk about the next stage, separation, individuation. This is where our toddlers are kind of figuring out where you end and where they begin. And I should forewarn you that this is the same social emotional stage that we see from teenagers. It's really all about trying to figure out how much control they have over the world and wanting to be more independent. And this can be a really challenging part of toddler development for a lot of parents. So this is where we start to see maybe a lot more exploration from our toddlers. They're wanting to do things on their own, like put on their own shoes and their own coats. We see a lot more protesting from toddlers during this stage as well because they want to do things on their own. And that sometimes leads to increased meltdowns or tantrums. So if you can see the correlation between this and a teenager, right? A toddler wants to be able to do these things on their own, but they still need us. And it frustrates them because they want to be independent. It's the same thing for our teenagers, right? They want to be able to be out there in the world and doing the things that adults are doing, but yet they're not quite ready for it. And it really ticks them off. So same stage that they're going through, separation, individuation. So another key point to understand about this social emotional stage of toddlers is to understand that they're just starting to learn how to have conflicting feelings about something or someone. So for example, if your toddler wants a cookie and you tell them no because it's going to be dinner time, traditionally when they would get frustrated, they would come to you and you would help soothe them so that they could calm themselves. You would reassure them that everything's okay and it's all right, we'll have a cookie later, etc., etc. But as they start to develop and go through these social emotional stages, they start to realize, hey, I'm mad. I want to go to my mom to comfort me because that's what I've always done. But yet she's the person who made me angry. She's the person that told me no. So they don't know what to do with themselves. How can I love somebody and need somebody so much, but also be angry and frustrated with that person? That is why they end up in little hot messes on the floor in puddles of frustration. They're learning how to have those two conflicting feelings about things at the same time. And it can be really, really overwhelming for them. Okay, so let's talk about the last stage of social emotional development, negativism. Of course, this is why we're constantly hearing our toddlers say no to everything, even sometimes to things that they want. This is where they're really trying to have control. That is really what toddlerhood is all about, trying to have control. And if we think about this from the perspective of a toddler, they really don't have much control over their environment, right? I mean, we basically tell them when to get up, what they can have for breakfast, what they need to wear during the day, where they can play, whether they can go outside, whether they can watch TV, and on and on and on. It can be really frustrating for them. So that's why they're constantly trying to get control back. And that's why we see a lot of no's, a lot of meltdowns, and a lot of tantrums. They're just trying to figure out how much control they have over their world. So what I want you to understand and take away from all of this is that toddlers' brains are hardwired at this stage to do the opposite of what we say. They're really seeking that control. So if we tell them not to touch the TV, they touch the TV. If we tell them not to run, then they run, right? So they're always going to do the opposite in most cases of what it is that we're asking them. And it's just a normal part of the developmental stage of negativism and them trying to be autonomous and have more control over themselves and their world. All right, so those are some of the social emotional stages that toddlers are going through that cause all of those big emotions that we see from them. Now, I know you're like, well, what can we do about that, Jill? Well, down below in the description, I have a link to a Tantrum Tamer cheat sheet. And it's not just about tantrums. This is really about trying to figure out and use some different strategies to try to avoid power struggles with toddlers. So I highly recommend that you download the tip sheet below if you're looking for some strategies to help kind of navigate the waters of the terrible twos, which I don't think they're terrible. I think 2-year-olds are absolutely amazing. They are my jam and I adore them. Okay, so that's it for today. If you are finding this information and the channel helpful, please help me out by liking and subscribing. If you're interested in getting these kind of nuggets sent right to your email box, then you can sign up for my newsletter, and the link for that is below. All right, you guys, I will see you next time for more toddler tips.